Oh, baby. We are live on the post round 2 or round 3 of day 2, round 2 and 3 live stream. Here we are.
We're here.
Bradley Stalder on my right, Matt Kelley, the Podfather
Hey,
on my
dap
left.
it out. We had a great pick.
We had a great
pick.
pick.
Hug it out. Oh my God, awesome.
Yes.
What a great pick we made.
We traded up.
We picked the chalk guard at the pick we were supposed to make. Let's hug it out. This is amazing. Yeah. Or we traded up and overpaid. We got our guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we traded up. We got our guy.
Sick and tired.
Here's what I want. I'm
so tired of all the dapping and the hugging over nothing. Over just doing your job. How about just do your job and make the right pick? Okay. It's one thing if you take a chance and you have real bravery and courage. You're like, we're gonna trade down. Oh yeah. Oh, dap it up. Oh, dap it up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great job.
Thanks, Theo.
Great.
We got this.
Oh, we did awesome. Oh, front office. We're so cool.
Stop the loop on the right time.
We're doing great.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's go. That just happened.
Yeah.
We
are live here in Pinckney.
Lighting incident. Let's just fix this too. This is bugging me.
Oh, there we
now
go.
We're centered. Now we're. Oh no, now we're not centered.
Yeah, we got basketball.
Over here. Oh, yes. Now we're centered. Oh, isn't that centered? Oh yes.
If we scoot if all of us scoot to the left, it'll be
this
centered.
is perfect. This is perfect.
Okay.
We got to get centered.
I don't think you.
And this is a late night show. This is we're post 11 p.m. We're perfectly centered. We're doing great. We're dapping each other up because all of these general managers and all their staff are just falling all over themselves with all these picks they're making. Most of the picks on day 2, yes, there were some great skill position picks, were offensive linemen. It's such an amazing offensive line. It's just, I was marveling at how good, deep this offensive line class is. The smart teams actually, this is a rare thing that you would actually wait to take a tackle. It's never a good idea. We talk about the Vikings.
Yes.
They had the latest stud tackle that fell to them in recent memory, Christian Darrisaw. So it's just a rare thing that you almost always need to get your tackle in the top 10.
You got to reach.
Stud tackle. There were stud tackles all over the second round.
Yes.
This offensive line class, unbelievable. But the one time I would say you're allowed to hug it out, to dap like crazy, and everyone celebrate is when you trade down and you get a guy that should go in the first round and the second round. If you do that, then all hail. Please, by all means. Otherwise, just go about your day and do your job.
So pretty much Howie Roseman. This is it. He's the one who's been dapping and hugging and been winning. He gets 2 of the top cornerbacks in this draft.
Amazing.
He sleeps soundly at night after all of the daps and hugs that he's gotten.
Right.
That's why Philly is always a contender, because they let things come to them. They don't go to it. That's why the Panthers are always a bad team. They trade up in the first round. They trade up in the second round.
Yeah.
This is 2 diametrically opposed teams going complete opposite directions.
Thank you for saying this, because this is my breaking point. The reason why I went on this rant, this is the second time I've ranted about this. I ranted on it live, was the dapping of the Panthers. The Panthers of all the hugging and the celebrating after you traded up and get a guy you didn't even need to trade up for.
Nope.
Like a Leggett. What are you celebrating? Congratulations. You just drafted the most surefire bust receiver I've ever seen in the first round. Congrats.
We just did what the owner wanted us to do. I don't know.
I don't understand it right now.
Yeah,
people are like, oh no, the Falcons are the worst front office. They're dysfunctional.
No,
because they've got the puppeteer, right? The McKay puppeteer, who's got the owner under his spell, right? It's right out of Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Right. And then he's manipulating the general manager, and then the coach is manipulating everybody.
The Saruman
it's
extension.
Crazy.
It happens. It's here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. And I get it. It's dysfunctional. but it's not Carolina, man. Like there's something deeper,
We need an
more
exorcism
problematic in Carolina.
In Carolina, we need a priest. We need a bishop from the Vatican.
Don't get me wrong, man. Jonathan Brooks, I love him going to a place with very little touch competition. So when he is like fully online, and he's going to be a workhorse, that's amazing.
I did early projections. If he plays a significant amount, we're looking at a round 2 fantasy running back.
Oh yeah,
round 2.
Oh yeah,
that you're going to be able to get in
round 4, round 5.
I like that.
Maybe round 3.
Are you saying wait but on Benson, you're saying wait a year because of Connor?
I think that you can draft Trey Benson right now. He's going in the 110s, 100s. I think that's a great price for him. And I think it's structurally sound too. We've seen 0 running back really win in the best ball streets. Trey Benson is the perfect 0 RB candidate as one of the pieces for your best ball teams to be drafting. We know what James Conner is, and he is an aged, injured running back on the last year of his contract. So yes, we want this player, Trey Benson. There's nothing but upside there.
So in your rankings, Brooks or Benson?
Brooks.
Because the opportunity. This is the thing. This is the same reason I like Jalen Polk. Right? This isn't the greatest situation.
No.
It's the Patriots. Right.
But he has pathway to be the number 1 wide receiver.
Right.
And to work with Drake May the entire offseason. It's clear that May is the quarterback. There's there's not going to be another quarterback that's going to take reps from him this offseason. It's going to be Drake May. And so when you're pairing May with Jalen Polk right off the bat, like it's Demario Douglas, I have projected to be the wide receiver 1. That could easily go away. It's
a very fungible, very fragile depth chart there. Jalen Polk is a dog.
Yes.
Like these guys, there's a couple players where the Codys and the Alexes, they're like, this guy is a player.
Yes.
Roman Wilson and Jalen Polk.
I love Roman Wilson.
Yeah, I was like, okay, these guys will, win in the gym. They'll win in the locker room. And then they'll talk about
they'll win on the field.
The domination that they showed at the Senior Bowl, for example, with Roman Wilson. So I'm in on Roman Wilson and I'm in on Jalen Polk for those reasons. Great. But then the question is, okay, Adonai Mitchell's a better receiver in a vacuum.
Yes.
Right? But I just don't understand how you can't massively adjust. I mean, if there is one receiver you must adjust post-draft based on landing spot, it's the guy that goes to a quarterback that's going to suck 100 pass attempts out of the offense. Like, what are you doing? Everyone that's tried to make the math work for like the number 2 receiver in Baltimore has failed to actually be able to balance out those 2 equations. It doesn't work. The math doesn't work in Baltimore with the receiving core. The math doesn't work for Adonai Mitchell. As good as you think he is, fine, it's great. But maybe in 2028, but then you say, oh, maybe they franchise tag him. Now you're talking, when are you going to get 2029, right? That's the thing. So why fall on that sword? Like, why fall on the talent sword? You don't need to.
The situation is just so tough.
I would rather have Polk.
Well, here's the other.
So most people are like, well, these guys are in completely different worlds. Well, actually, that's all pre-draft and take locked, because the NFL actually prefers Polk.
Yes.
Last time I checked the draft order, and Polk's in a much better situation. And Polk is also like just a really good player who loves the sport and doesn't have any red flags, and is like a guy that's going to go out and just produce.
Yeah, and I was talking to Memphis when the Colts were on the clock and they made the pick, and we asked him, who's the wide receiver 2 in Indianapolis? And do you know what he said? Josh Downs.
I like Josh Downs.
Yeah, I mean,
Josh Downs is a volume target earner out of the slot.
He was an early declare out of UNC. He had a decent profile.
Alec Pierce is still there, right? And this is a Jonathan Taylor Anthony Richardson centric
Yes.
offense that also feeds their wide receiver one. There just isn't room. You can worship at the altar of the talent of Adonai Mitchell, but the NFL disagrees, and the situation for fantasy football is atrocious. And if you're looking at rankings that are sort of take locked or they're lagging reality, then you can't pay attention to them. You can't.
AD Mitchell ceiling 100 targets. That's a ceiling.
It's gross. It's like he is a guy that I'm not drafting. I cannot draft him. There's too many casuals that are take locked onto Adonai Mitchell. That's the easiest. Do not draft. Just scratch him out. Just don't.
Michael Pittman, target hog, 29% target share. You still have Alec Pierce. You still have Josh Downs, who's 18% target share. So you've got, and they love to rotate their tight ends into. This is a team that you don't know which one it is going to be, but you know the tight ends are going to get some of the target share there. So for AD Mitchell to get the targets in a low passing volume offense that's going to get vultured at the goal line, like he's not even going to get the goal line touchdowns. That's Richardson. That's Taylor. So all the upside is sucked out of AD Mitchell.
Okay. So Seth, do we agree?
On what?
AD Mitchell is a stay away complete.
In redraft?
Any format.
And even in it depends on how far.
Yes,
far
in Dynasty. There's so many great young running backs. I'd rather have Jalen Polk. I just said it.
Okay.
I'd rather have Malachi Corley.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd rather have a whole bunch of guys. At least Malachi Corley, he's going up against a guy who's dust.
See, there's where we agree.
There's dust in those shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Like all it is.
Yes.
It's just, he is the number 2 in New York, Malachi Corley. Okay.
We've
seen so many scenarios where the big lumbering outside X receiver, the big perimeter guy, turns 30, and he was already running a 4.65. Now he's running a 4.8, 4.85. You know, he's got a knee reconstruction, Achilles reconstruction. It's over.
All it takes is one.
It's a 1-year deal.
Done.
It's over. It's over. Malachi Corley is a yak machine. So Roman Wilson, Malachi Corley, Jalen Polk, these are players that were in a tier below Adonai Mitchell going into this draft that are now above Adonai Mitchell. I think that's important. And I also just want to celebrate the demise of Kyron Williams.
I was wondering when this was going to get brought up.
I mean, it's not like okay, here's what I said. I said, if you draft Kyron Williams at ADP in any format, you're an idiot. I said that. I said he's the only player that's drafted in the first 15 picks, top 2 rounds, right? Typically, you want to have some exposure, all these guys. You don't want to get burned.
There's almost no pathway for you to lose.
Kyron Williams cannot hurt you, right? It's just like Adonai Mitchell. Avoiding Adonai Mitchell can't hurt you. Ricky Pearsall can't hurt you. Right? Avoiding these players can't hurt you. So just don't bother. Don't worry about it. But Kyron Williams was like the highest drafted, highest ADP player. There's there's no way avoiding him. It's that you can't. Don't worry about it. Like
it was
just
easy avoid.
The easiest avoid ever. Like, but he had a great year.
Exposure on any of the platforms.
There's no incentive for them to draft a running back. Yeah. The Rams must have seen his fantasy production. In 2023, they would never draft a running back. They saw how many fantasy points he scored. And they don't play fantasy. No. According to the Rams, when they're looking at their depth chart, they're like, all we have is Kyron Williams, and he's a late round pick. Oh my God, we need a running back. So they just don't think like fantasy people think.
And they tried to address running back last year with Zach Evans, complete dust. They had nothing there.
Right.
Royce
so
Freeman.
They're back. They knew they came into this draft thinking, we've tried the Zach Evans. We've tried to finesse the position with undrafted free agents and day 3 guys. We're done. We're taking the national championship
pedigree running back.
The lead back with the helmet and everything, playing in January. That's the guy.
Such a Sean McVay pick, though. He knows that the U of M, the Notre Dame. He wants those NFL ready type of players. Blake Corum fits that so well.
A running back named Blake going to play with Sean McVay is just it was too easy. It was too easy. That's why we looked at the board. We're heading into the third round. And what did we circle? We circled Rams, Blake Corley.
Yes.
We said, just watch it happen. Watch it happen, people. And then it happened. Pretty cool.
It's
yeah,
pretty good.
That's pretty good. You guys did a good job there. I don't know. I don't know what anyone else is going to talk about.
It's just, it feels good. What do you okay, Bradley, a month from now,
Yes.
Kyron Williams underdog ADP. What's it going to be a month from now?
It's going to be in the 70s.
Next, who's next?
First round.
Who's next?
He was the first round.
Yeah, he's going to be in the 70s.
Who's coming in?
Alex and Cody, come on down.
Alex Dunlap, Cody Carpentier. They are next. Take over for the Podfather and Bradley Stalder in the post-game show.
First of all, click subscribe for Matt Kelley, the Podfather, and Bradley Stalder. And we are going to run this. Let's see. We're going to run this ad here let's see here. We are going to run this ad for the break.
Oh, hey, it's Mr. Breakout Finder coming at you. The Breakout Finder features 3 key tools: a database of metrics that include speed score, college dominator, breakout age, but also Breakout Finder only stats like dynamic score, level of competition, teammate score. All of these things are part of the overall Breakout Finder algorithm that pinpoints the probability that a player will break out. Everyone's talking about my model does this and my model does that. Well, we give you the data points that go into the model. We have a feature that lets you compare players, and then we give you the precise probability of every wide receiver, every running back, sorted and filterable by class year. So when I'm talking to my friends and I need to show them why I'm so bullish on player X, I pull out the Breakout Finder and bam, there he is. So go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's $5 to get the Breakout Finder, and then a couple extra bucks to get some of these additional enhanced stats. Go download it and thank me later.
All right, we are back. We have new guests: Cody Carpentier, Alex Dunlap from Wastawatch.
You sound like Devontae Walker.
Wastawatch.
Okay. Yeah. As I divert back to my, that I don't have any insecurities about speed. No. Anyway, so we are back here, and there's clearly a debate. There was a debate that I wish we could have put on air live between you and the Podfather, between Adonai Mitchell and Jalen Polk, right? As far as like who you had ranked higher in Dynasty rookie rankings. Alex, like there wasn't. Do you have a rebuttal to what Matt said, or what do you think?
I didn't listen to what Matt said.
Okay, he has Jalen Polk higher than AD Mitchell. I know.
So let me ask this.
Yeah.
Is Matt talking about rankings, or is he talking about what he's instructing his users to do versus ADP?
That's a good question. He's probably instructing them based on what to do with ADP.
So let me ask you guys this, and I'll hand it back to you. Is Jalen Polk going to have a higher ADP in one? Can we just talk about this in the context of a one quarterback, non-super flex, non-tight end premium league? Okay, so let's talk about it in that context.
You got the context, yeah.
Okay, so if we're talking about it in that context, is Jalen Polk going to have a higher ADP than Adonai Mitchell?
I think he will.
You think Jalen Polk will have a higher ADP than Adonai Mitchell after this week?
I think they will. I think they'll be close, but I think he will because he'll be perceived as the alpha in the offense.
If that is the case, I will put Adonai Mitchell, as far as our cheat sheets, under Jalen Polk, because I do not want our users to have a ton of exposure to Adonai Mitchell. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that after Adonai Mitchell, who everybody thought was going to come to the combine and run a 4.58, and here's the dude. Let's talk about this. So Adonai Mitchell, we were making pre-excuses for him coming into the combine.
4.52.
We were saying, like, dude, he's going to run a 4.52, a 4.54. It's fine, though, because look at him at the top of his routes. Look at him, the way he adjusts, the way that he can adjust to people to frame the football. Look at him, the way that he can find himself with these little openings in the zones. Look at the fact that through, what was it, 4 or 5 weeks of this Texas season this year, that every single game he played in as a collegiate athlete, he had scored a touchdown. Like, Adonai is a sick player, man. Ask George Pickens about Adonai Mitchell. And look, you can go on X and type in George Pickens, Adonai Mitchell, and you could see George Pickens talking about at Georgia, Adonai's next man up.
Yep.
George Pickens says Adonai's the next, like, me, right? He's a sick player, awesome player. The yards per route run at Texas was horrible. The worst in the whole combine, 1.75, miserable, disgustingly bad. And I can try and explain that away by the fact that there were certain games where they just didn't look to him. And Adonai said at the combine, he said, man, those games were games where Chris Jackson, the wide receiver coach of Texas, had told me that I need to focus on my blocking and I need to do all the rest of this stuff. And you hold that against him, it's fine. You want to hold the diabetes against him, it's fine. Like all the rest of it, you can hold against him, it's fine. Adonai is a sick player.
Yep.
Okay, so all that being said, 4.34. Whenever we were considering him as a 4.52, and we were making excuses for that 4.52. Now he has this added dimension, and we always say, man, when it comes to the NFL Combine, you can't double count these guys, right? You can't say, okay, all right, well, look at this. Lad McConkey ran a 4.39. We got to boost him up the board. No, you don't boost him up the board. Fast guys run fast. That was baked in, right? That 4.34 was never baked in with Adonai. It just wasn't. So when we take all those things into consideration, and when we consider what I'm most focused on is what the dynasty space is going to do ADP wise with these players post NFL draft, dude. I think you guys are crazy. I think you guys are crazy to say that Adonai Mitchell is not going to have a higher ADP. Like, dude.
How's he going to have a higher ADP while he's playing with Michael Pittman and a rushing quarterback and Jonathan Taylor in an offense that's not going to throw the football a ton? And you look at what New England's doing right now. They're drafting.
Jalen Polk.
They drafted Drake May to specifically be the starting quarterback for this football team eventually, and they drafted Jalen Polk to be their alpha receiver for the current standing.
A giant project.
Don't care for the current standing. They drafted Jalen Polk to be their alpha receiver. It's not Demario Douglas. It's not Juju Smith-Schuster. It's Jalen Polk. You yourself know he's the alpha in the Washington room from a mentality standpoint. When he walks into that New England room, he's going to be the alpha.
I think from a personality standpoint, Jalen Polk will be.
From a target standpoint, he will be.
But we're talking about the guy that was the number 3 wide receiver statistically for the Washington Huskies. Are you telling me Adonai Mitchell's Adonai Mitchell?
That's fine. I have nothing against Adonai Mitchell. It's about the team. It's about the team. The team he's sitting in. Situations are situational.
I'm talking about Dynasty. Dude, you know what? I am more convicted in this right now than I've ever been.
How?
Adonai Mitchell ran a 4.34.
Adonai Mitchell is
talented. I'm gonna in Dynasty League football. I'm going with talent.
Again, they are both very talented.
I'm going with talent.
You know I love Adonai Mitchell. I'm not talking about the talent. Both of these guys are supreme talents that we both had as top 10 wide receivers. The point is situational. When you look at what the Indianapolis offense brings,
Polk ahead of Adonai Mitchell is bad.
Anthony Richardson's going to rush for 800 yards this year. He's not going to throw for over 3,500. They just paid Michael Pittman over $25 million per year.
No. So you're being a trash man. You have no conviction that Anthony Richardson is going to at least improve in any particular way as far as being a passer.
How is he going to improve in any particular way when he had a shoulder injury that required surgery? How is he has to get back to the point of which he was before he can get to a new point.
Oh, all right, so so you're telling me he had a surgery, he all the rest of it, and so all of a sudden he's going to be this 240-pound giant, disgusting man who's going to go ahead and lower his shoulder and against linebackers at the second level and run for 800 yards.
And
that's what you're saying.
And you damn well know. Guess what? He had to relearn how to throw the football. You had to relearn how to throw the football. You can't have it both ways, man. You had to relearn how to throw the football.
No.
Yeah, that's what the process looks like when you have surgery on your shoulder. I'm telling you right now, Anthony Richardson is going to run this football a considerably amount more time than Drake may.
You're going to take Jalen Polk?
Jalen Polk will out-target Adonai Mitchell by 40.
Here, clip it.
In the chat, let us know what you think in the chat.
Clip it.
Get us a super chat as well. Get us a super chat.
It's
let us
wrong.
know what you think. Let us.
How is it wrong?
It's not just wrong.
How is it wrong?
It's not just wrong.
Who is going to get more targets?
And honestly, it's shameful. It's criminal.
You're wrong. You're an idiot.
It is shameful and it is shameful and it is criminal for you to say this. Dude,
for someone that created the term, this is one of the most cockamamie takes you've ever had, and I think this is where you bring out the homer.
Jalen Polk versus Adonai Mitchell's.
They blame me for homers.
Jalen Polk
with Xavier Worthy,
the number 3 wide receiver for the Washington Huskies.
This is Texas bias. This is Texas bias. Adonai Mitchell is a disgusting wide receiver that's going to be very successful in the NFL, but not with Michael Pittman, not with Anthony Richardson, not with Jonathan Taylor in 2024. Jalen Polk playing with Drake May in this New England offense.
Or are we talking about like for life? I thought Dynasty football is for life.
It is for life. But who's the alpha in New England? Who's the alpha in Indianapolis?
Who's the alpha with the quarterback that's got 2 left feet in Drake May?
How many? That's just an idiot. No.
Is it as simple as for the long term, Adonai Mitchell's the right play? For the short term, like Jalen.
Who's the more talented wide receiver? Who's the more talented player? Who's the more gifted and skilled player?
Adonai Mitchell.
Okay, I'm taking Adonai Mitchell in Dynasty.
Wrong.
I'm taking the player that Cody Carpentier. I am taking the player that Cody Carpentier says is more gifted, more talented, and better.
Wrong.
Wrong.
I said he's more talented. I said he's more gifted, but he's not better.
What's okay? All right, fine. I'm taking the player that Cody Carpentier has said is more gifted and more talented.
Again, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Let us know in the comments where you weigh in on this debate between Adonai Mitchell and Jalen Polk. It's obviously like, I don't know, like is it as simple as long-term Adonai Mitchell's the right answer, short-term Jalen Polk's going to get the higher target share? Is it that simple? Like in redraft, yeah, Jalen Polk is the answer. And in Dynasty, Adonai Mitchell.
Here's the thing, Seth.
Yeah.
To me, it like as far as what I'm talking about here, I'm making a cheat sheet for the users at my site, Roster Watch. I'm making a cheat sheet for people to use. And what the cheat sheet is not rankings. It's not rankings. It's never rankings. It's leverage versus ADP. And so my initial thought is that AD Mitchell is going to have a higher ADP than Jalen Polk. And I'm going to have Adonai Mitchell ahead of Jalen Polk because his ADP is going to be higher. I'm not saying I'm worried about AD Mitchell. I'm worried about the landing spots. I don't love it, right? I don't love Jalen Polk's landing spot. I don't think it's great. I think it's great for the Patriots. But I don't love it. I don't think it's a dream. It's not a dream come true. It's my dream come true is he's catching footballs from a developmental rookie quarterback with Gerard Mayo, who I'm not even sure is a great coach. Like, come on, Alex Van Pelt. I'm not sure about this, right? So whenever we're talking about the ADP, right? If I put Jalen Polk ahead of Adonai Mitchell on the cheat sheet, it means everybody that uses my cheat sheet is going to own Jalen Polk at the 111, the 112. Like, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to have 100% exposure with my users to Jalen Polk. There's absolutely no way. With that being said, if I have 80 ahead of him at the 111, 112, 201, if he goes earlier than that, we're not going to have exposure to him because he'll go earlier. We might get some exposure to Jalen Polk because he's going to go later. And that's that. This isn't about me having, I would rank Adonai ahead of him for the record.
Sounds to me like you're at 70% Jalen Polk on these rosters.
No, that's absolutely no. I don't want 70% of any. No, I do not want 70% of Jalen Polk.
70% ratio between Adonai and Jalen Polk. You're going to get 70% Jalen Polk.
No, we don't know that yet. We don't know where.
I'm telling you it right now.
We don't know how
based
the
on these
ADPs are going
rankings.
to land. I'm guessing about ADPs, right? But what I need to do with my cheat sheet is make sure that I don't break ADP to say like, all right, this guy's going 6 picks later, which I think Jalen Polk will with Adonai. I can't have him ahead of Adonai because that means I'm getting 100% Jalen Polk. I like Jalen Polk. I would kind of like to have him on some teams. I'm worried about Adonai. I would rank Adonai ahead of Jalen Polk. But this isn't about that. If you want to have the conversation about who I like, just the pure rankings, we can have that conversation. But I'm not worried about pure rankings. I'm worried about my business. I'm worried about what I'm doing. And what I'm trying to say here is I'm not. There's no way that I'm going to put Jalen Polk ahead of Adonai Mitchell before I see that Jalen Polk is going 3 spots ahead of Adonai Mitchell as far as ADP.
I got to use the wise words one man once said to me. You're a coward.
I'm not because here's the thing. I'm not a coward. Because here's the
Jalen Polk's the better receiver.
No, dude, that's not true. Adonai Mitchell's the better receiver.
He's the better dynasty receiver.
Adonai Mitchell is the better receiver than Jalen Polk, and you have him ranked higher than
Jalen Polk is the better dynasty receiver.
You have Adonai Mitchell ranked higher than Jalen Polk on your big board. You have Adonai Mitchell ranked higher than Jalen Polk on our dynasty rookie rankings. You have Adonai Mitchell ranked higher than all of them.
Jalen Polk is the better dynasty receiver. Jalen Polk is the better dynasty receiver.
Okay, so if you think that that's true,
I'll rank him higher if that's what you want me to do.
I'm not, Cody. It's not about rankings. This is about leverage versus ADP.
I understand.
Do you understand how dynasty works?
I understand 100%.
This is about rankings.
I understand.
This is about saying if his ADP is the 204, we're not going to be fucking taking him at the 111 every time.
I get this.
That's not how shit works. That is how it works.
Again.
Anyway, thanks for having us. I'm gonna go.
Let us know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think in the comments where you land on this debate. Adonai Mitchell, very spirited, very in depth. This is why you subscribe to the Player Profiler YouTube channel. So do it right now. If you haven't subscribed to the Player Profiler YouTube channel, I don't know why you wouldn't do it right now. But after that, I mean, come on. That's pretty good. It doesn't get better than that as far as a debate between Jalen Polk and Adonai Mitchell. I mean, come on.
The Adonai Mitchell Jalen Polk debate that we never thought we would ever hear.
I was gonna say for year one at least, I think we have to lean Jalen Polk. This is the most cleaned out wide receiver room that I might have ever seen in history at this point in late April.
Year one, I'll give you that. I think, profile wise, Adonai Mitchell, I certainly like the profile more than Jalen Polk heading into the draft. But
Theo, talk about the landing spot.
I mean,
we have Anthony Richardson, a mobile quarterback. He's taking over the Alec Pierce role. We have Michael Pittman monopolizing targets. Josh Downs. We all think he's going to take a lot of targets.
Downs is the interesting one though, Josh, because Downs is also a downfield target. He's able to make plays downfield, and he also had, almost 70 receptions last year and set the record for most catches by a Colts rookie all time. Josh Downs sort of boxes out the Adonai Mitchell like ceiling case.
How do you see the targets this year? I see Mitchell as like a pretty clear third behind Pittman and Downs.
I do as well. I think that Mitchell will get less targets than
one.
And yeah, I think Polk, like the bull case for Polk is 120 targets, but I don't think we need to stick on the Adonai Mitchell and Jalen Polk. I think that we got enough of that. Seth, you could.
I was going to try to steer you guys away, but I was going to see how far you wanted to take
away
it.
From the debate that we. Yeah, and
it was fantastic.
And I don't think you're gonna have to make that decision in rookie drafts. I think that the general public is going to select Adonai Mitchell ahead of Jalen Polk.
Yes,
that's the point I was going to try to get to. So, I didn't want to stop that. I didn't want to because we had some great debate there, but that was my point. Is I thought that maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you guys can weigh in on this.
Well,
but
if you believe in Jalen Polk, you already have the all the Patriots can't draft wide receiver haters. Yeah. Plus, it's a profile where he went ahead of several wide receivers that were ranked ahead of him going into the NFL draft by fantasy analysts. So you already have multiple potential discounts when you're dealing with Jalen Polk. But at the end of the day, targets are targets, and the wide receiver room, there's nobody sort of boxing them out. But let's move off of Jalen Polk and Adonai Mitchell and ask about maybe somebody else.
Maybe I'm crazy.
Seth wants to stick with it.
I thought that and maybe I'm nuts. Mm-hmm. I just thought that in your home, like in your dynasty leagues, like the home guy is going to go Adonai Mitchell over Jalen Polk.
100% they're going to.
Yeah. So you're going to be able to get Jalen Polk at a discount.
1,000,000%.
Am I? So
How
we're
many-
good.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Game theory wise, you're not going to make this
How many
decision.
rookie receivers are currently poised to lead their team in targets in 2024?
It's the Terry
Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Jalen Polk.
It's the Terry McLaurin outcome that you want. It's the day 2 pick in a wide receiver room with no proper alpha and really no big target earner of any kind. Mm-hmm. And the tight end's Hunter Henry, and the best 2 receivers are both running backs. So it's But Seth, for the love of God.
Okay, I got you. All right.
And,
outside of Adonai Mitchell or Jalen Polk, you can talk about any day 2 landing spot that you absolutely loved for a running back or wide receiver or tight end. Theo, which one was it for you?
I mean, Josh and I were talking about this before, and I think that's going to be his takeaway, but we had several unbelievable landing spots, and I'll start out with the low-hanging fruit ones that started out the second round. But we started out the second round with 2 teams that we were desperate to draft a wide receiver, and they did so, where the Buffalo Bills take Keon Coleman, elevating Keon Coleman. I don't think there was a better landing spot for Keon Coleman in the entire day 2 than him going 33rd overall to Buffalo. Buffalo had all night long to pinpoint who they were going to select, and they go with Keon Coleman, who is unlike any other wide receiver in their room. He's the biggest, strongest, youngest, most athletic wide receiver in the Bills' room. His target competition at wide receiver are guys like Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir. The touchdown upside is there immediately. And then how could we not love Lad McConkey going to a situation where the highest target earner in the wide receiver room there is Josh Palmer. And then we factor in Jim Harbaugh has no allegiance to Quentin Johnston. He doesn't have to make this like regime and management look good. He has a fresh start. So Lad McConkey, I think, leads the Chargers in targets.
It gets better than that. So not only did we talk about the receiver room, let's talk about the tight end room. Will Disley, nothing.
Yes.
Hayden Hurst, nothing. Let's talk about the current running back room. Gus Edwards has like 15 career receptions, nothing. J.K. Dobbins, not a pass catcher either. There is nothing in the tight end room. There is nothing in the running back room. I think they do take another running back like a Will Shipley, a Dylan Laube, someone with pass catching chops. But as of right now, this is the most cleared out running back and tight end combined room when it comes to actual target earners. And then it is possibly the most cleared out wide receiver room as well. Well, what is stopping Lad McConkey for flirting with most targets in 2024 from this receiver class?
And even if you don't want to take as bullish a case as Josh is on most in the class, I think legitimately, even if the season doesn't go well for Lad, and even if it's a little bit more balanced than we think, that's 130 targets, and that's the floor.
Insane.
The floor is 130. So like Lad McConkey, and then also Josh, I'm glad you brought up the running back room, because when you look at who Justin Herbert would go to complete first downs.
Yes.
Austin Eckler is the first down maker. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, as much as Greg Roman wants to be run heavy, Lad McConkey is the guy. And one other thing that's interesting is Lad McConkey was used as a rusher. They did manufactured rushing attempts for him at Georgia when he's surrounded by NFL talent. I think Greg Roman is going to have some wrinkles in the offense to get Lad McConkey the ball in creative ways. So those are the low-hanging fruits. But I think, like, talking to Josh, you take it away, because there's so many good landing spots today.
Yeah, my takeaway overall for tonight, if you play fantasy football, this is the single best night of your lives in NFL draft history.
Yeah.
The landing spots were immaculate. I'll add on to what Theo said. We love Trey Benson to the Cardinals. You have a guy that runs 4.3 speed. He gets legitimate draft capital. He's paired with a mobile quarterback in Kyler Murray. It feels like what we wanted Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins to be as a pairing, and we actually get that now with a healthy Trey Benson, with a healthy Kyler Murray. Even guys like Jermaine Burton. Which third-round pick could legitimately step in to being the number 2 target in a Joe Burrow-led offense when you have Jamar Chase running a lot of slants, short area of the field, yak opportunities. Jermaine Burton stretches the field. Top to bottom, Roman Wilson, another third-round pick, immediately flirting with fantasy relevance, looks a lot like Deontay Johnson in his profile, goes to a team that just traded Deontay Johnson away in the Steelers. Pickens and Roman Wilson, very little in common. Jamar Chase, Jermaine Burton, very little in common. The second round, the third round, it was simply landing spot after landing spot after landing spot that fantasy enthusiasts can get behind.
And Seth, can we also talk about Ben Sinnott landing to Washington?
I was going to bring that up. Thank you.
Like Ben Sinnott goes in round 2, not only gets day 2 draft capital, which we really wanted for him, but he goes in round 2.
This was your guy.
And Ben Sinnott, listen, I'm not trying to flex, but Ben Sinnott is a guy I've been talking about for months. The value that Ben Sinnott presented to us in early best ball drafts, I had a chance to go on Josh's incredible podcast, The Dominator, and discuss Ben Sinnott's value in best ball drafts. Ben Sinnott has been an auto pick for me in the 20th round of Underdog. And I think that that's going to pay off well because Ben Sinnott, he sort of translates into this new tight end that's been pretty dominant in fantasy. Like the Sam Laportas, the Dalton Kincaids, the Evan Ingrams for that matter, the 6'3", 6'4", 245-ish pound guys that are uber athletic and can be used as a weapon, moved all over the field. Ben Sinnott was a high ADOT player at Kansas State. He led Kansas State in receiving yards. Now he steps into a tight end room where Zach Ertz is going to be annoying, much like he was to Trey McBride to start last year. You know, Zach Ertz reuniting with Cliff Kingsbury. He's not going to disappear. But once the Sinnott takeover happens, you're looking at something comparable to what we saw with Pat Freiermuth as a rookie. Second half of the year, he's in your starting lineup every single week. I love this landing spot. And the fact that this tight end class, besides Brock Bowers, was completely ignored on day 2. Ben Sinnott's your only day 2 selection.
Well, I was going to say, so obviously we don't actually know the full dynamics with a veteran like Zach Ertz, but we have to recognize that when Zach Ertz plays with a young tight end, at the very least, there is not anti-mentorship. There is either nothing or mentorship.
Yes.
Dallas Goedert thrives playing with Zach Ertz, and then when Ertz leaves. Trey McBride thrives playing with Zach Ertz, and then when he leaves. I think Ben Sinnott is very much likely to be next in line there.
Yeah. So multiple strong landing spots today. Really interesting one. Some surprising guys sort of fell out of day 2. Yeah. It's going to take a lot of mental gymnastics for some fantasy analysts who were pounding the – I mean, my Jalen Wright love is hurting a little bit. There's a lot of Javon Baker enthusiasts. Yeah. Malik Washington's interesting because
Tez Walker.
Tez Walker, especially after that combine, for him to fall to day 3. I mean, day 3 is always interesting, and we've certainly had some massive hits at the wide receiver spot when you look at Puka Nacua last year, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, but it's still less of a bet than going on day 2, a considerable fall off in terms of like hit rates. Yeah. So, still some very interesting players left on the board. I think running back wise, there's some guys we really have to circle heading into tomorrow. We'll know Braylon Allen. We'll know Jalen Wright. We'll know Will Shipley. Some interesting guys there, but wide receiver wise, some real disappointments.
Yeah. Like Josh was saying, there's some real disappointments. I honestly think you mentioned Jalen Wright. You mentioned Javon Baker, amongst others. I think much more positives than negatives.
1,000,000%.
It might not have been what we expected, but that's why the NFL draft is the NFL draft. We don't know how these NFL teams are going to evaluate these players. And we found out today. And I think this question's interesting, and I don't want to pivot too much, but Gerard Dean in the chat says, have any of these day 2 picks displaced Brock Bowers in your
Theo,
rankings.
this
And
is your-
Theo
this is another-
is the ultimate.
Theo is the tight end
Theo
guy.
is the
He
ultimate Brock Bowers.
He plays on
stan.
FFPC tight end premium. How do you feel about this?
I don't think that you have the two. So I will say that we will have Trey Benson and we'll have Jonathan Brooks as top 20 dynasty running backs on Player Profiler, but neither one of them is going to displace Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers has one of the cleanest profile. And when we play dynasty for the long run. And Brock Bowers is the kind of player that have multiple tight end, top 5 tight end seasons. I love the Lad McConkey landing spot. I love the Keon Coleman landing spot.
Who is most likely to displace? So I agree. I'd have Bowers at the top. I think Lad is most likely if someone overtakes him in October. Is that your pick, or would it be Keon, one of the running backs?
I think that
who could overtake Bowers?
I think because of the scarcity of the position and because of the lack of sort of bell cow running backs and the lack of high touch running backs, I think that if one of those guys gets off to a fast start, let's say James Conner goes down, let's say that they just simply say Jonathan Brooks is better than Chuba Hubbard and he gets the Rachaad White usage.
He probably is. Yeah.
Those two guys get that huge dynasty boost. But at the same time, it's still, you have to go back to the profile a little bit, and the fact that he gets top 15 draft capital. Landing on Las Vegas doesn't scare me off as well. I keep Brock Bowers right where he is. But, it's like you said, Josh, incredible day for fantasy. Really fun one. And we'll see tomorrow.
Stalder's fist pumping in the background. This is
and
I cannot overstate. This is truly the best day if you're a fantasy enthusiast in NFL draft history.
And I'll say this. Our chat is we're very, very fortunate to have such great viewers and great listeners to our podcast. Make sure you're not only subscribed to Player Profiler YouTube, but also Player Profiler News YouTube. It's our new YouTube channel. We've been dropping a lot of strong content there. We have some new shows dropping sometime early summer, late spring. So look for that. Make sure you subscribe to both. Some of you are watching on that stream right now. We are streaming to both. But this has been awesome. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be back with the Podfather, Matt Kelley, and Andrew Cooper of Fantasy Alarms early in the morning for a top 10 takeaways. And then, Seth, we're going to be back right here 11:45 p.m. 12 noon start for the draft tomorrow.
Yeah, right after we do our Dynasty Startup mock draft in the morning, right?
That's right. We're going to wake up at 7 a.m. We're going to go 7 a.m.
We're going to do 500 picks deep.
We're going to do a
at least 40
a five round mock draft. And Dario Offstein, he's OTC with the 101.
Oh, how about that, Dario? Okay. That's the easiest. That's the easiest pick in all of the picks. But I appreciate you guys joining me. One last take. Like, I've been the biggest Jermaine Burton fan, and we have John Hendricks in the chat. Shout out to the chat. Just electric. Jermaine Burton, am I crazy for being super high on this landing spot, especially considering there's all this T. Higgins trade rumors? Like, he's going to stick around for this year, but if you're playing the long game in Dynasty, is Jermaine Burton, which he's probably going to be in the late second round, right? Right about where Jaden Reed was last year.
It's a 20-25 bet, Josh, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say
20-25 bet. The T. Higgins replacement.
If they wanted to pay and extend T. Higgins, it would have happened. We've seen the Amon-Ra deal recently happen. The deals that were probably going to happen already happened. I think at this point, what we should look at is 2025. It's Jamar Chase who's about to get extended next year. And then Andre Yoshivas, Charlie Jones, they still don't really have a tight end outside of Mike Gesicki. I think it's setting up really, really nicely where Jermaine Burton starts to flash at times this year. Probably a pretty decent best ball pick at the end of your drafts, given that it's the Bengals offense.
Yes.
2025 hits and suddenly we go, oh my goodness. Is this a guy that can sneakily get 100, 110 targets deep downfield and an ADOT of 15, 16 yards? I think we have to be very, very bullish on Jermaine Burton's landing spot in the third round draft capital.
And especially considering that the Bengals selected Burton ahead of several players that fell to day 3. I mean, they really, really valued him. And we also have to mention another guy that has an interesting landing spot that we really didn't have an opportunity to talk about on the stream because it was the last pick. But Luke McCaffrey, big winner at the Senior Bowl, big winner at the NFL Combine. And he was rewarded for his play and his combine performance. This was a former quarterback ends up going to Rice, transfers to Rice to play quarterback, makes the switch to wide receiver, and this year went off. Mm-hmm. Now Luke McCaffrey has an opportunity to step into a potential number 2 role. If Jahan Dotson is slow out the gate this year, then Luke McCaffrey could be the wide receiver 2 in Washington. So Washington gets Jaden Daniels and adds Benson and Luke McCaffrey, 2 players who can make plays downfield, Seth. So you got to be a little bit excited about that.
All right, 2 rapid fire. You ready? And then we'll get some other guests in here.
I see Matty over there.
Maddie's circling like a shark.
Matty Kiwoom is ready to cook.
Roman Wilson or Jermaine Burton in Dynasty?
Roman Wilson.
Matty
easy.
Okay,
easy.
All right, Trey Benson or Jonathan Brooks in Dynasty?
That's harder.
That is
a harder one. That is a harder one. If you need production immediately at the running back spot, it's Jonathan Brooks. If you have running back depth and you're looking for somebody who could possibly be a late 2nd round pick in redraft in 2025, it's Trey Benson in the ascending offense. It's Arizona. But hey, if you need those a lot of people are going into their dynasty seasons not carrying a lot of running back depth. It's a very fashionable thing to have a lack of real running back options because it's a position that doesn't hold long-term value. Then Jonathan Brooks, he's your guy. But long-term, Trey Benson, next level athlete in an offense that's ascending. It's big time.
And that is why the OG Fantasy is one of the best dynasty players in the world. And we have Jason Alwine, who is at day 2 of the NFL draft with us right now. And we have Matty coming in with his shades.
Just for a
and
second.
We have Memphis.
Memphis is I just for 1 second
here.
Trey
didn't
God's in the
know
house.
the Luke McCaffrey pick happened just because of where we were at, like in our traveling. And when I saw that pick, I'm very, very excited about it. And just to add on to what was mentioned by Theo, there is an out on Terry McLaurin's contract after this season. He's going to be $13 million or 30 years old next season. $15 million would be what they would pay in base salary. So they might take that out. And I really do think that Luke McCaffrey is going to be pretty nice. So I wanted to pop in for that.
Jason popping in. We have Memphis coming in here to my right, Matty Kiwoom to my left. He's got the shades on. I love the look. First of all, do you guys want to weigh in on this debate between Adonai Mitchell and Jalen Polk, or do we need to move on, or what's going on?
Listen, we're not here to debate.
Yeah.
Memphis are here for love.
Yeah, no.
We've been broing out all day.
You don't come in to discuss like the pips. You come to talk about Gladys Knight. So let's
That's
talk
right.
about the stars of this rookie class.
All right, so let's just start right away. Like, who's the guy that got taken, and you're like, that's the guy I'm gonna have a ton of in Dynasty, Matty?
Well, for me, it's 2 players. It's Roma Dunze, it's Malik Neighbors, and what is gonna happen for me is whoever falls 2 or 3 spots, maybe even 1 spot, because Malik Neighbors is now going to be a player immediately who has 100, 120, 130 targets. And Roma Dunze is going to be the guy that at the end of the day, everyone's going to say the convoluted target shares. Everyone's going to, there's not enough mouths to feed. All the cliches will be around the Chicago Bears. But at the end of the day, what did we say we were talking about it, right, Memphis? Caleb Williams is good enough to not only feed 2, he's good enough to feed 3. So I'm still very, very high on those 2 receivers. And at the end of the day, listen, the wide receivers at the top of the draft are still exactly where they should be at the top of rookie drafts.
Yeah, I like Adunze quite a bit as well. I think I'll have a lot of Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
You know, I stand by this. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the most talented prospect we've had since Calvin Johnson. But I think Malik Neighbors wins how you win in the NFL in 2024.
Separation, baby.
He creates separation. He will make life. And I know Daniel Jones is not a great quarterback. He's about a 65% career passer. But he's never done that with a guy like Malik Neighbors. And then I think they'll add a running back at some point. So I think Malik Neighbors would be one of mine. And I'm thinking a lot of Lad McConkey. Yeah, that's my style.
The only thing I'm going to say about Lad McConkey real quick is the Leprechauns in Boston are weeping. They had a chance for Lad McConkey to be in New England, to be in Boston, and they traded the pick away. From a football sense,
those are your people.
I like it.
Those
but
are your
for
people.
my people,
your people.
St. Patty's Day is a big day in Boston.
I've heard that and the Boston Marathon.
So I'm going to keep bringing it up until you guys are probably sick of me bringing it up. But I'm just going to tell everybody right now at home, on your couch, I'm going to have a ton of Jermaine Burton. I'm not going to apologize
You
for
always,
it.
you,
I'm
you
not
were
gonna
always
apologize
going
for
to
it.
have a lot of
I'm not going to
Jermaine
apologize for it because look, it's okay. What was the biggest gripe against Jermaine Burton that came out late in the process? At least I found out late about
He's
it.
a pain in the ass.
He's a pain in the ass, right? He goes into a situation with Joe Burrow, T.
You can't be a
Higgins
pain
for
in the ass
now,
there.
Joe Go Burr.
and Jamar
You can't be.
Chase. How does a
can't.
person, unless you're a complete knucklehead, how do you walk into that situation and go, yeah, I know this team's been to a Super Bowl and they've been to an AFC Championship game and they've beat the Chiefs, but like I'm better than this. Like, how do you like
You
that?
can't,
Isn't
you
that
can't,
the like
you
if he's
can't.
gonna fail, he's gonna fail, but like that is the best case scenario,
Well,
right? Am I crazy?
No, you're not. The part that you're also not adding in is that it's very unlikely they're going to be able to bring back T. Higgins. So if he
Yeah.
can go in there, so his upside at the guys, and I don't know what his ADP is yet. I've not sat down since the draft ended. We just jumped right on this post show.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I'll have in my rankings, but I'll tell you wherever it is, there's not going to be too many guys that have the range of outcomes that he does. He could do whatever let's say third round, let's say 301, just for an easy number.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to give you a ceiling that not a lot of 301s, because if he goes there, he does well and he works in well, then T. Higgins becomes a free agent next year and he goes away. And he has to, because you need cost control, because you're going to pay Jamar Chase $35 million. You need a cost control rookie. So that gives him this really good ceiling with this really good quarterback. And you're not going to get that ceiling with a lot of guys at that ADP.
Yeah, it's right. This is completely off the kilter. We're gonna get crazy here. This is after the draft. We're having a blast here at the PlayerProfiler Draft House.
Lake
You
House.
guys know, how dogs in the pack corrects. You guys know? Are you familiar at all with how dogs correct the pack leader?
I know about the wolf pack.
They nip.
Oh.
So the pack leader and dogs. What happens is if there's a dog that's getting a little too overzealous, getting a little bit too brazen in their approach, they get nipped. If Jermaine Burton's gonna be a pain in the ass, he's gonna get nipped by Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
He's going to get nipped. He's going to fall in line. And when a player falls in the draft or has red flags, character concerns, but they go to a place where character concerns get wiped out, they can exceed 80th percentile outcomes, 85th, 90th, 95th percentile outcomes. We talked about this. You and I, Seth, right? About Jermaine. Jermaine Burton, if I succeed in any in any of my fantasy leagues because of Jermaine Burton, I will only give you credit. You put me on. You said when I watch him play, it's hard to not see Keenan Allen with a little bit more speed. And I know people think that's crazy, but remember back 127 years ago when Keenan Allen was a rookie, he was a third-round pick from Cal. Jermaine Burton was a third-round pick now from Bama. He does have an ability to get open, separate, and dominate. And if he can stay in line, get corrected by the big dogs, he can reach those type of outcomes. So I don't know if I'll have as much Jermaine as you.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely have more Jermaine than my friends.
I will have some, because prior to this conversation, I probably wouldn't have had a lot. But now that we've workshopped and talked it through, and your love of Jermaine Burton put me on, so we'll have a little. Our portfolio.
Seth's contagious. Seth is contagious. Seth Diewold is contagious.
The film, man. And then like all like it's not that, because I watch the film, I do my own evaluations, but I look at other people I respect and trust. And when Matt Harmon put out his thing about Jermaine
Fourth
Burton,
best in his,
but he's like the only thing is like if this guy can figure it out. And I'll just be honest, like if the Panthers would have taken him, or if what other dog organization, like
if Steelers grabbed him to be the
I was saying like the Panthers in a bad way. Like if the Panthers would have taken him, even if they would have taken him earlier, I'd have been like, ooh.
Or if he was a second off the board.
I understand. Like in a situation where there isn't a culture to correct the red flags. Yeah, I agree. I understand.
In that case, it's almost like, and I don't have any research or data. Maybe I should start some, like with players that are quote unquote head
the
cases.
pain in the ass
Would I
rankings.
rather have them taken in the first round to a Carolina Panthers, or would I rather have them fall to the third round to a Bengals? I think I'd rather have them fall to a situation that I think stable and like where I think they could actually
With some
achieve.
dogs to correct them.
Yeah,
And then
exactly. He's like,
nip
here,
them.
let me teach you how to be a pro. Here, you jack off.
Well,
Like, yeah,
I mean, Memphis is
yeah.
jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Champion.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
If there's a guy that comes into your gym and starts acting like he's the man, you're gonna nip him, right? You're gonna let him know.
Depends on how good he is, but yeah,
No, I'm saying a white belt comes in, think he's a pain in the ass, he's a rookie. You're gonna check him. You're gonna nip.
It's ego management.
That's ego, man. And the Bengals have a contingency for ego management.
All right, so we've talked about enough Jermaine Burton. All right, so give
We're
me.
done?
Yeah, well, give me a rookie. All right, we're talking rookie rankings here with you guys.
Yep.
There's really nobody better than the Dynasty Warzone Memphis here with
Thank
his
you, sir.
buddy Jerry Sinclair, and the draft rankings, the executives of fantasy football, Cody Carpentier and Matty Kiwoom to my left. Like really, everybody on this stream tonight, we're in this draft house together.
It's an all-star game. It's a freaking all-star game here.
It is absolutely an all-star game. So just give me like some of the landing spots that you guys, when it happened, you went, ooh, yeah, or you went, ooh, no. Because I feel like there was more, ooh, yeah. Like I like that landing spot more so than, oh no.
I think the reaction in the house when Lad McConkey went to the Chargers was more of an eruption than when Xavier Worthy went to the Chiefs, because that was the big one last night. And Lad McConkey would definitely be on that list for me. I'll be honest, I think I'm in the minority, but that's okay. I was kind of pumped when Jonathan Brooks went to Carolina.
We were there on the cat. I was pumped with you.
I was pumped. I think that's a great landing spot. Nothing against Chuba, but he's in the final year of his deal. You're going to get a discount on Brooks because of the injury and the perceived bad situation. I'm telling you, like we said during the live stream, Miles Sanders is going to be selling insurance by December. And then Chuba is going to be a free agent next spring. And then we're going to be 12 months from now, we're going to have like a guy that will be another year removed from his ACL injury and just ready to take a step forward. And we saw how Dave Canellis used Rachaad White, another winner from tonight's draft class. It's hard not to be excited about what I think Jonathan Brooks' role will be, especially in the passing game, given what Rachaad White's done.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Matt? Is there like a winner or a clear loser? Like, did you have a strong reaction? I don't even want to say winner or loser, but was there a guy that got picked? You were like, that guy's going to go up in my rankings, or that guy's going to go down in my rankings?
So I'm going to do a quick down, and then I'll talk about my up. But my down is Marshawn Lloyd. He goes into a crowded backfield, so immediately his outcomes for 2024 get diminished. And I know a lot of people say, Josh Jacobs is only on a one-year deal. Look at how it's structured, all this stuff. Running backs are so fluid. So if you want to invest in a Marshawn Lloyd being behind Josh Jacobs, by all means, enter at your own risk. But at the same time, I don't think he's going to be a big factor in 2024. And at this position, explicitly, it's a mercenary position. It's a 1 year out. So I'm super down on Marshawn Lloyd. The player I'm up on is a player I was not expecting to be touting here on the reaction show at the draft house a week ago. It's Ben Sinnott.
Yeah,
Ben Sinnott for Washington, the second tight end off the board. And now they have their new Chris Cooley. Can play the H-back. He's a weapon. Cliff Kingsbury loves fast-paced. He loves players getting open, players making plays. And Ben Sinnott's that type of guy. And I had him at tight end 5 in my rookie ranks. This might be a bold take, but I don't think you can guarantee me that Brock Bowers scores more fantasy points than Ben Sinnott in year 1. I don't think you can guarantee that. I don't. I was talking to Bradley here. Bradley's been educating me on projections and his process. I've been learning a lot from him, and he thinks that his range of outcomes is tight end 12 overall, and I completely agree. If the touchdowns, the luck of touchdowns fall in favor of Sinnott, we might have the situation where we go, is Brock Bowers a bust? He's not. I love Brock. I'm not saying he's a bust. But I do think now Ben Sinnott being on this team in this build with this offensive coordinator, now has to be in your top 12 tight end rankings for 2024 and could be better than Brock Bowers.
What are your thoughts?
Not saying I'm drafting Sinnott over him, but I'm just saying the ceiling is there.
I like the opportunity. I like what the offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. I like what he's done with tight ends in the past. I like that Zach Ertz has mentored another young tight end everybody's pretty high on, like Trey McBride.
That's a good point.
That's a great point. That's a fantastic point.
And I'm looking at these. The wide receivers are different, but like running backs, tight ends, I'm fine as a dynasty gamer. I'm fine drafting those guys knowing that it might be a year. I think what we saw last year with Zamir White, with Tajay Spears, could very well be the future. And I think that could be the range of outcomes for Trey Benson. Is a guy that you're going to get at a good value because of how good this class is, and you're going to sit on him. And these will also be the guys that I'll be looking to buy like week 5 because they won't be putting up a bunch of fantasy points.
That's the point to make. You don't draft, don't reach in your drafts. Buy in December. Buy in December.
That is why he's Memphis Young.
That's why he's about. That's what the war zone, baby.
It's like they will disappoint, and no one's cheaper to buy from than a disappointed dynasty GM. You scoop in, and then literally 12 months from now, it's like Trey Benson. It's the same way we feel about Zamir White. We called him a big winner because they didn't draft anybody.
Right.
He's a big winner, and that's how I'm treating that position. It's much more patient, and I know dynasties become more mainstream as ESPN and other big companies absorb dynasty, which is great for all of us. But it's a lifelong game. It's a multi-year game. So don't get off your feet if someone makes you feel like uncomfortable through like 6 games. I don't know. It's not redraft. It's dynasty.
No, it's a fantastic point because at the end of the day, sometimes your approach to a rookie draft should be, who am I going to attack in week 4?
Mm-hmm.
What player do I avoid now, knowing that I can get a better discount at when Halloween rolls around, Thanksgiving rolls around, blah blah blah. I love that because that going into it, if James Conner is healthy, the casuals, the mainstream fans, they're going to fade Trey Benson, and you can swoop in and get a guy that has BELLCOW written all over him.
I mean, you look at how the Cardinals have used James Conner.
Oh my God! Over.
And multiple head coaches, multiple offensive coordinators. Whether you like James Conner or not, he's a good football player, and that's his role. So he's going to be the lead back. It's just like last year with Zamir White. Did you like Zamir White coming out of Georgia?
A little bit, yeah.
Did you like Zamir White?
I did, but
Josh Jacobs is really good at football.
Josh Jacobs is awesome, yeah,
and that's okay. So patience will always be the key in this game, and it will pay you off 100 times.
Fantastic point. We'll get you guys out of here with this. Is there any player that is fallen to day 3 that you have your eyes on that you think it is gonna has the highest potential to land well in day 3? Like we're talking about the Javon Bakers of the world. We're talking about the Jalen Wrights of the world. Like, who is there that you're still pretty high on that could potentially get a good landing spot?
For me, it's Brennan Rice.
Okay.
Good.
Because I think I talk about it then.
Mine's Will Shipley.
Oh, Shipley.
Will Shipley. It's like all these.
Shipley's a great one.
Shipley is like the guy that I don't know what the spot is. I think it's Washington, to be honest, because Brian Robinson.
They don't have that.
That's
Cliff
right.
Kingsbury does not like Brian Robinson.
They've got Austin.
That's
Eckler.
right.
They've got Austin Eckler, but like again, that's a guy that lands in a good spot. You're patient for a year. So Will Shipley is the one, because I've got a ton of respect for guys like the Podfather, like Ray Garvin, and people that have been touting Will Shipley. I'm not going to let day 3, draft capital, dissuade me from having plenty of him on my roster. So he's the one I'm most intrigued with.
I love Shipley and Brendan Rice. You talk about Javon Baker. I love Javon Baker too. I also believe that Javon Baker has the mindset. When you go into day 3, people, listen, I'm not trying to be verbose. I'm not trying to grandstand here. But when you come to day 3, the most important thing that you can use or utilize for Dynasty is the people who will be better than their projections. The guys who have the mentality to be better and exceed the expectations. Javon Baker, Brandon Rice, they come from the stock. They have the abilities to be better than they are. Puka Nacua, I'm not going to say this is the next Puka Nacua because at the end of the day, the next Puka Nacua went with the first overall pick in the second round. It was Keon Coleman. But the thing is, the NFL corrected themselves from a year ago. This is what I'm saying. Brandon Rice, Javon Baker, these are two wide receivers that have the mentality, have the skill set, and have the abilities to be better than their round 4, round 5, round 6 draft capital. These are the guys that you want in your rounds 3 and your rounds 4 because you might be looking at it by Halloween saying, wow, this guy's actually really, really good. And at the end of the day, we liked him before. We're going to like him after.
That is Memphis Young. That is Matty Kiwoom. Go follow them everywhere they go on Twitter.
We're gonna go to the bar.
Yeah. You go to the bar. You deserved it. It doesn't get much better than that. Like, subscribe for all the content here on PlayerProfiler.com.
Thank you to everybody in the chat.
Channel. Absolutely.
See all the questions and comments. Thank you so much.
We love
for the
y'all.
support.
We love y'all.
We appreciate it.
So we're gonna bring in Anand Nanduri, who went to the draft with me yesterday, and who's coming in right now.
Coming in hot.
Coming in hot. It doesn't get much better than this, man. It's day 2 of the draft. We're talking to some of the best Dynasty players in the world. Theo, Memphis, Matty, Cody, Alex.
Guys that I learn a lot from too.
I learn every day, man. I'm relatively new in this space, so it's fantastic for me to have this opportunity to host this day 2 post show.
Yeah.
I feel I just kind of sit like people maybe in the chat are going, Seth isn't saying much. It's like, I don't really have to. I just kind of sit back and let the people, not that I don't have expertise, but I just sit back and listen. And sometimes you just need to sit back and listen. So I'm going to sit back and listen to you. And I'd like to know from you, from your expertise as an NFL cap specialist, as an NFL analyst yourself, who do you think really crushed this draft so far through 3 rounds?
I mean, the default answer is the Eagles, but I get bored of saying the Eagles. I get bored of saying the Lions.
It's every draft with the Eagles.
So we'll ignore the Eagles and the Lions because that's going to probably be a decision point episode at some point where I talk to Matt about how much I loved their drafts.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh comes to mind. You get Troy early. Some people had him as their tackle 2 in this class behind Joe Alt. Then you get Zach Frazier. They get Roman Wilson. They get Peyton Wilson. They didn't really have to do a whole lot of maneuvering to get players that, whose ADP in theory was significantly higher than where they had to take them. And then the other one's Washington, man. You sit there and you look at what they did at post Jaden Daniels, and you sit there and you look at all of these draft picks that they made. And not only do they make sense, but you look at kind of how Washington went about their rebuild versus how New England went about their rebuild and getting, talked earlier a little bit about, I heard you guys talking about Drake May, Jalen Polk. Those are 2 of the, how we have my guys on Player Profiler. Those are 2 guys that'll be my guys for sure. And so to see them team up in New England, loved their draft. So those are the 3 that kind of most stood out to me outside of the obvious cats that we think do well every year. Obviously, we love Baltimore. Eric DeCosta does a great job there for them. But yeah, man, it's exciting for all of those. And then obviously the Bears, but I feel like they really didn't have much opportunity to screw it up.
The Bears
kind of going chalk was pretty easy.
I was not disappointed whatsoever. I know some people were with the Rome Odunze pick. I know some people thought they should have gone defense, but how can I be mad about Rome Odunze?
I don't think you can because, when we talked about this, Matt and I did on the most recent decision point. If you have a similar grade on the 2 guys, when you're looking at wide receiver tackle early in round 1, I think one of the things that you have to ask yourself is, 1, where am I in both spots, right? Like, it's easy to make the decision in a vacuum. We don't play football in vacuums.
Yeah.
Some teams have better O-lines than others. Some teams have better wide receiver rooms than others. And they clearly tried to fortify a strength. Keenan Allen's 32. The tires aren't going to be there forever. And so I think their idea was basically the same as the Seahawks was a year ago, which is, we're going to take wide receiver 3 and make him wide receiver 2 and make him wide receiver 3 before we need him to be a 1 or a 2 or whatever it is. And so I really liked that approach simply because, you had your 2 guys that you thought were in that Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. tier, and Alton Latham gone already. And so they kind of pivoted and decided, hey, we're taking the wide receiver, which, who can blame them for that?
And according to Theo Gremminger, they complete the Infinity Stone. I can't remember the exact.
The Infinity Gauntlet.
The Infinity Gauntlet. Thank you very much. That's why he's the best in the business. The Infinity Gauntlet of wide receivers with Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen. We know Keenan Allen's probably going to miss a couple games because guess what? He's a 30-plus-year-old wide receiver, and that's typically what happens, and that's fine. And the Bears have aspirations of making the playoffs, and they want to keep him healthy for the playoffs. So if he does have to miss a game, guess what? No big deal. We just slot in Rome, and it's fine. We're good. And we got Caleb Williams and with they got the tackle from Yale, who I can't pronounce his name, but I hear great things about him.
Fun player.
Yeah.
Really fun player.
Yeah. So I can't be mad about that draft. Even I feel like they've done the most with the 3 picks that they have so far, and they only have 4 picks in this draft. So we'll see what they do. But let's pivot right now to the teams that you felt did the absolute worst in this draft.
The Chargers, in the way that they've gone about their first round pick, I was not a Joe Alt guy, but I can't fault them for that.
Mm-hmm.
I was a Joe Alt overtaking Malik Neighbors as a prospect, but I'm not really upset with them necessarily about how that went down. It's got to be Atlanta, man. And I hate to pile on to, we talked about Atlanta ad nauseum last night about how bad that pick was when it was Michael Penix Jr. And it's not that we don't like the player. The draft is really not it's a stock market almost. What you're giving up is your opportunity cost. It's not necessarily the player you select. We normally don't hate the player that you select for any reason. It's really more of what did you have the opportunity to take instead? And so watching them trade up yet again to reach yet again, Atlanta is the team that I think struggles the most to understand what their draft capital actually should be for. I know that there were other teams. It was reported that other teams tried to trade up for Michael Penix. Again, not the same situation that Atlanta's in when you've committed $100 million to Kirk Cousins. Your best case scenario with Michael is that he is a productive player at age 27, 28. And at that point, you've already burned 2 years of the rookie deal, which is the value in your contract anyway. And, at that point, what you're really betting on is that he turns into a superstar. Because if he's not, then we're going to look at this draft pick very differently. It worked out for Green Bay with Jordan Love, but there was no succession plan for Aaron Rodgers, who was at the time 38, 39 years old. This is a very different scenario where they're committing fresh money to Kirk Cousins. And, it just seems like a wildly unnecessary risk and a pick that, quite frankly, even if it works out, the ceiling of what you get out of said pick just feels rather low relative to what it could have been.
Yeah, it just, to me, I know a lot of people are comparing it to the, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love situation, including the Falcons, right? They brought that up. And I'm thinking they're going, well, if this was your plan, why sign Kirk Cousins? Why not, if you're fairly confident that Michael Penix is going to be there at pick 8, this is not a quarterback like Drake May or another quarterback like a Mitch Trubisky back in the day that had a lack of experience. This is a quarterback who's older and who's had those reps in college, like a Bo Nix. So if you're going to draft him, you're probably drafting him to be the starter, right?
Yeah. And I mean, when you look at it that way, the question that you have is basically, do they not think that Kirk can make it through a season? And if that's where you are, then you're in an entirely different world of hurt, because I don't know that you want to be splitting first team reps between Kirk coming off of an Achilles tear, which, by the way, it seems like no one's discussing that. It gets talked about in passing, but that's not an injury that historically you come back from and are 100%. And it's not like Kirk was the most mobile guy to begin with. So, I mean, I think, when you have the athletic profile of an Aaron Rodgers, you might be able to sit there and play pocket passer a little bit better when you have the arm that he does and when you can generate the velocity and torque that he can. Kirk's not that dude, man. He's not some physical specimen at quarterback like Aaron is. I have serious concerns about whether or not he can make it through a full season. I have very serious concerns about whether or not Atlanta has built this thing out so that he can be successful. I hope so. There are a lot of pieces in that offense to like. There are a lot of pieces that I wish I could like more. You want to love a Kyle Pitts more than we do as a dynasty asset. You want to love Drake London more than we do as a dynasty asset. And so much of it is, all of this is unproven. The quarterback in this spot is unproven. You have Drake London, who has a lot of potential. Kyle Pitts, a lot of potential. Bijan Robinson, a lot of potential. There are so many pieces in this Atlanta offense where you're like, oh my God, if they could just figure it out for like a quarter of a year, if they could give us like 3 or 4 weeks where it all looks like it's together and Bijan's running for 85, 90 yards a game and you get, 60 or 70 out of Drake London and Kyle Pitts is making a couple catches that are crazy here and there. Maybe you split a couple of touchdowns between them. Then suddenly you feel a lot differently about this group and it's not potential that's unrealized as much as we're looking at it now. Because on paper, Atlanta looks great. Football games aren't played on paper.
Yeah, and when you look at this franchises that are successful year after year after year, as much as I hate to admit it, it's like the Packers, the Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They just it's almost boring, but they just take the best player that comes to them. They don't really trade up all that much, and when they do trade up, it's for an impactful player like an offensive tackle or a quarterback, or you know what I'm saying? Like it's not really that hard, and it just feels like Atlanta's kind of going out of their way, and teams like Atlanta and teams like Carolina, who we haven't talked about, they're just kind of going out of their way to just make life difficult for themselves.
They're pissing away value. Yep. If you're trading up in the NFL draft, I want you to understand what you're actually doing. What you are doing is telling the world, I have scouted these same players that you scouted, and my reporting is more accurate than yours. And on top of that, I am right about placing this player here relative to consensus. Because if you've ever seen, people deviate from ADP when we talk about best ball, when we talk about dynasty, when we talk about, whether it's a startup, you could even talk about redraft. ADP, wisdom of the crowd, is probably the best tool that you have if you're just navigating a draft, right? Some of these high stakes guys even will just smash ADP over and over and over and over and over again, whatever it is. And, there's something to be said for that. But in the NFL draft, when you get so few bites at the apple every year, for the most part, teams have 7 picks. Obviously, you get comp picks from time to time. Sometimes you get 8, sometimes you get 9. Trade up and down, you may have 10 or 11. But that's not a lot when you consider that you have a 53-man roster that you've got to put together, when you consider how much injury risk this game carries. A lot of your day 2 and day 3 picks, you hope not to be pressed into action early in their career, but a lot of them end up having to play significant roles, especially if you're a team with championship caliber aspirations. When you look at offensive and defensive lines, those guys' bodies just wear down over 17 game seasons. And then you get into a playoff run, and now you've got 18, 19, 20 weeks of that kind of wear and tear on your body. You just need depth. You need bodies. And that's why I think so many of these draft picks, the teams trade away that are day 3, you can call them lottery tickets, slot machine tokens, whatever you want to call them. I think that, they'd be better served with pick swaps. Sure, you may be giving up value, and that sucks from time to time. But you still want the same number of opportunities to draft somebody, even if it's not at the same draft slot.
Before I let you go, is there a player that hasn't been drafted yet that you're looking at the board and you're going, I cannot believe that this player hasn't been drafted yet? Offense, defense, like, what are your thoughts heading into day 3? Is there a value that's still on the board that Anand Nanduri goes, I can't believe that guy's still available?
Yeah, the guy's TJ Tampa.
TJ Tampa. That's somebody.
Yeah.
That's such a great answer.
I had a mid day 2 grade on him. And I know that most of what we talk about here is fantasy football. People are going to want to hear Troy Franklin, Javon Baker, obviously both really good players. But to me, the fact that TJ hasn't been taken is crazy. I mean, they may know something we don't know, but so many of these guys that are available early in day 3, they're a lot cheaper than it is to go early day 2.
Yeah.
So you may see teams kind of shuffle around and maybe offload some veteran contracts that teams may want. You're looking for a Band-Aid here, a Band-Aid there. Some of those DBs that you have some depth with that are a little bit older, or, a wide receiver that might struggle to make your roster, an offensive tackle that you might have one too many of, maybe a swing tackle or guard. Defensive tackles are common, edge rushers. You'll see a lot of those players transact in day 3 as teams kind of try to find ways to move up that don't involve giving up picks this year or next year.
That is Anand Nanduri. Where can the people follow you on Twitter?
Yeah, it's at Nanduri NFL. And so, spend a lot of my time here on Player Profiler, talking to Matt, talking to, Jason Allwine on Wake and Take. And, it was good hanging with you, man.
Yeah, it's good hanging with you too. We're going to run a underdog ad, but when we come back, we'll have Dario Offstein coming in, giving his projections, giving his little tidbit insights into the rankings right now. But this quick message from the Podfather and Underdog.
This episode brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has been sponsoring Player Profiler and everything we're doing here since 2020. Sign up. Use promo code UNDERWORLD for a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. 100% instant deposit match up to $100. And you're like, oh, well, everyone's on Underdog. Not true. There's plenty of people in this audience that have not yet tried out Underdog, and it's time. They're adding more sports. They're adding more contests. Like when we're heading into NFL draft season, there's the rookies and sophomores game. When you think about way too early fantasy football, that's what Underdog is. When you think about best ball, that's what Underdog is. And if you can pick players at the end of an Underdog Fantasy best ball draft that are under rostered, that few people are picking at all, and that guy, like Kyren Williams, hits, you will likely experience positive returns. All you need is that one guy at the end who no one else is rostering, and the way to find that guy is to listen to us. UnderdogFantasy.com. The promo code is Underworld. 100% deposit match up to $100 with promo code Underworld. Underdog makes everything we do possible.
All right, we are back with Dario Offstein. As promised, we are going to talk some fantasy projections for everybody out there. Who should you draft? Who should you not draft? And we had a just intensely hot debate between Adonai Mitchell.
Oh, it was scorching.
Oh, it was maybe the best content we've done this weekend. Maybe the best content we've ever done. I don't
Anywhere
know.
in the world.
Yeah. I mean, and like and subscribe because that was amazing. And let us know what you thought in the comments.
We'll be doing that again tomorrow.
But we don't want to talk about that because we've already talked about that. We want to talk about maybe the most obvious landing spot.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Lad McConkey projection here?
I think it was obvious. It was something we were all hoping for, and we actually got what we wanted for once as fantasy analysts, as whatever we call ourselves. Lad McConkey lands on the Chargers where, I mean, we can't project him right off the bat to lead the team in targets, just like not a reasonable median outcome, but he definitely has the best shot of leading his team in targets out of any receiver that was drafted today. And not only are those just like targets from any NFL quarterback, they're going to be targets from Justin Herbert. So we were all fired up. I think it happened so long ago. It was the second pick of the 100 picks. Or I guess no, there weren't 100 picks today.
That's such a great
100
point.
overall.
Yeah.
But it was the second pick of the day. And I think we've just like accepted it, absorbed the fact that he's going to be in that late first conversation. But we just haven't driven home quite how sick that's going to be. So I can read off some numbers for you. I think he can get right into a 17% target share, and that puts him at 97 targets, catch about 66% of those. I mean, it's going to be a very efficient quarterback. The offense is going to pick their spots. They're going to be run heavy. 64 receptions, 866 yards, 5.5 touchdowns. That's
really nice for a day 2 receiver. We know that his strengths are just like so fitting for a college to pro transition. He's a crisp route runner. He knows what he's doing, just like where to find spaces. He can maneuver and navigate is what I did there.
It's late. Like, trust me, I probably fucked up so many words.
And
so I feel your pain.
I mean, he comes in wide receiver 47, which doesn't sound, it doesn't sound particularly optimistic. But again, this is like the median floor outcome. I mean, other guys in this area are Hollywood Brown, Christian Watson, JSN, Cortland Sutton, guys that I think we can all very reasonably agree have a path to a high-end wide receiver 3 season.
Yeah, and this is incredible what Daria does, because he literally, like, these players were drafted today. Well, maybe tomorrow. What time is it? Yeah, yesterday. Tomorrow.
They were drafted tomorrow.
They were drafted tomorrow. The Edge of Tomorrow, the movie that we've all watched in this house. The Edge of Tomorrow, Tom Cruise. It's a great movie. I still haven't finished it. So I guess I don't know if it's a great movie. But anyway, the point is that these players were drafted just yesterday, and you're plugging them into your projections, and you're telling us some realistic expectations for these players. Like, we're all excited right now for what they could be. And
the beauty of this is also, like, I know people are going to, like, Theo would probably kill me if he heard me saying wide receiver 47 for Lad McConkey. But this is the difference between a raw projection and then actually being in a fantasy draft is you care about when those points are coming. Rookie wide receivers, you're going to get a disproportionate amount of points scored in the second half of the fantasy season. So if Lad McConkey averages 6 PPR points his first month as a pro, but he ends up getting to a point where he averaged 11 on the season, it's because he averaged 15 PPR points per game in weeks 14 through 18, when, guess what? You had your fantasy playoffs. So that's why you draft rookie wide receivers, year 2 wide receivers, rookie running backs as specifically ahead of their ADP or ahead of what you see as their raw projection, because they can explode for you when it matters.
So I'll go with the next receiver that I'm curious to see what you have to say, and that's who the Bills took early with the first pick in the second round. Keon Coleman. It's been a player that's mystified me throughout this entire process. I mean, just a super raw athlete. He walks into maybe one of the best positions we could have asked for him to walk into, but what do the projections say?
So I want to point out that Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir are not scorching the earth in 2024, right? These are not guys that are going to be anywhere near the top of our radar for fantasy drafts, but we have to remember they're significantly better than Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston. So, I mean, we're going to get Keon Coleman and Lad McConkey debates all offseason long because they were drafted one right after the other, very start of the second round. I mean, if I remember correctly, T. Higgins and Michael Pittman similarly went 201 and 202 in their draft. So we're going to be having these conversations, and I think it's important to remember that distinction in terms of the receiver rooms that they're playing in 2024. And the thing with Keon Coleman is right now I put him as, for our projections, he comes in behind Brian Thomas, behind Xavier Worthy, right? These are obvious, but Lad McConkey's ahead of those guys. We think the floor for Lad McConkey is already higher than some of the guys that went on day one.
Wow.
And Keon Coleman, like you said, there's some concerning spots in his profile. I mean, you guys have probably seen the reception perception chart making the rounds of him being an above average separator on like 2 out of 8 possible routes. It's really not a great look. But the thing I like about Keon Coleman is he's young right now, and draft age is one of the biggest predictors for wide receivers in terms of prospect status that translates to the NFL. So the breakout finder is not very low on Keon Coleman. I think he comes in maybe 7th, 8th in this class, right around where he got drafted. But the way that fantasy community is talking about him, you'd think he's already a bust, like, I don't know, Kevin White. So I think that Keon Coleman, there's some reason for optimism. I can see the pessimism. Comes in as the rookie wide receiver 6 in projections. We had...
You probably had Worthy.
We had 7 last night.
Yeah, I think so. You had the 3 Worthy, Brian Thomas Jr., and then who else? Gosh, we're spacing light.
Yeah. It was
that was 5 for sure. Gosh,
I feel like the over/under was 6.5.
Yeah,
We're choking so hard right now.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, you can feel free to let us know in the chat. I don't really care at this point. It's 1 a.m. here on the Eastern Coast, so forgive us if our brains are a little bit
the point is
scattered
that
here.
Keon Coleman, I think he's going to be underdrafted in dynasty drafts. It's going to be so. I think there's going to be very strong haters on one side, and then there's going to be people who are just telling you the landing spot is going to overcome everything because Josh Allen is an elite quarterback, and there are definitely targets available in that offense.
There were 7 because it was hold on, it was Brian Thomas Jr., Worthy, the 3, Pearsall.
If only we had this information on PlayerProfiler.
I know that you can see. Pearsall was 31. So were there 6? Or Leggett, that was it.
Yeah, it was Pearsall.
I knew it was
okay. It was the fraudulent receivers at the back.
Okay.
So
I don't feel too bad.
Xavier Worthy and Brian Thomas and Lad McConkey and Keon Coleman are ahead of both of these guys in terms of year 1 projections.
Okay, let's.
I was correct in saying that we have Coleman 7th out of these rookie wide receivers, even though he was drafted 8th.
Gotcha. So let's shift the conversation to running back, and let's talk a little Jonathan Brooks. So just for me, and I think a lot of fantasy gamers as well, Jonathan Brooks slots into the starting role for the Carolina Panthers. I know Chuba Hubbard did some of us really well towards the back end of the season, but where does Jonathan Brooks, how does he shake out in your projections? Or is that a little tricky because you don't know quite how it's going to shake out?
Because he is coming off an ACL tear. The news came out, right after he was drafted, all the reports came out, he'll be healthy for training camp. I'd be pleasantly surprised if he plays week 1. I mean, he tore his ACL in November.
Yeah.
You have no reason to rush back your rookie running back when your team is going to be a literal dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So I think
Fantastic
the Panthers are going to not force anything with Jonathan Brooks, and maybe by week 6, he'll be worked into a running back committee with Hubbard and Sanders. I think he's going to finish ahead of both of those guys by the end of the season in terms of touches per game. But the fact that there's 2 of those types of guys, I think it's just going to make for more of a delay in Jonathan Brooks taking over this backfield. As a result, I mean, he comes in as my running back 27 in projections, which is still not by any means a bad place to land. But I think, people, if Jonathan Brooks had gone to the Cowboys, people would probably be talking about him as a top 15 redraft running back. And I think I would be cautioning against that. But with the worst landing spot, more crowded backfield, probably smaller offensive pie overall, I think that makes it slightly less appealing. I do believe in the talent, and I think that the logic of these rookies, like I was saying earlier, those backloaded fantasy points are so valuable in actually winning your leagues.
Is there anybody, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there anybody in the projections that comes out a little worse than you thought, or a little better than you thought, or is there basically what I'm asking? And again, I apologize if this is a tough thing to look up on the spot, but is there somebody that got drafted tonight where you went, oh man, he projects better than I would have expected?
Well, right now, better or worse?
Let's go better first.
Okay.
Let's go positive.
Better is definitely Jalen Polk.
Okay.
I mean, he landed perfectly. He got drafted earlier than we thought. He could very well be Drake May's number 1 receiver by week 5 of his rookie year. So I think Jalen Polk, I mean, he was the number 3 receiver production-wise at Washington last year, and now he could be the number 1, probably at the very least number 2 receiver on an NFL franchise. You do not get a better landing spot with an ascending young quarterback. I personally believe in Drake May. So I think that's the biggest winner in terms of projections. Let me see if I can pin him down precisely. He comes in, again, these are not going to sound high, but he's wide receiver 64, while we got Malachi Corley at wide receiver 68, Adonai Mitchell at 71, Xavier Leggett at 72, and Ricky Pearsall is currently buried in hell because the 49ers did not trade Deebo Samuel
Yeah.
or Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, which is that's a mystifying one because the rumor was, or maybe not even the rumor was, they had like Cooper DeJean on the card and then they tore it up.
Yeah,
and then they draft Ricky Pearsall and now they still have Deebo, so that's obviously going to bury him in the projections.
Yeah,
rightfully so, because he's not going to beat out either one of those two guys. But who are some receivers that came in, or running backs? It doesn't matter. Well, there's only been 2 tight ends taken, but who are some guys who came in lower than you would have thought that they would have based on the projections?
Can I say Jalen Wright?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
I'm just kidding. We haven't projected him yet because he hasn't landed on a team.
Yeah,
and we really would have liked to see that happen at the very latest in round 3 today. I think the Jalen Wright shares are looking just dangerously thin to evaporating right now. So that's my non-actual answer. But in terms of people who just did get drafted already tonight, I think that I'm just going to go with another Washington receiver. I think Jalen McMillan just had a really tough landing spot for year 1. I think that he's going to fight with Trey Palmer to be the number 3 target on the Buccaneers. Cade Otton is going to get his 14% of targets. So Rachaad White is going to get his 10% of targets. Rachaad White's a big winner, as we heard everyone celebrate the survivor status. But I think that, sorry to pick on my Washington receivers, I guess, but Jalen McMillan really could have landed somewhere better. I think Jermaine Burton in Cincinnati is going to have the widest range of outcomes, though, out of all these rookie receivers that were drafted tonight.
Yeah, that's a guy that, it's been widely documented. We talked about it a lot tonight. We don't need to really dive any more deep into it, but that's been a guy that I've been very high on, and just throughout the process, like my own evaluation, then some other things come out, Matt Harmon and some other analysts I trust. Yeah, I think that's a very polarizing player because there's some off the field stuff, and
he's got a quarterback that can throw it deep.
Yeah, and he's a guy that has his average yards per target. I mean, it's very good. So we are at 1:11 in the morning Detroit time. Dario, you've been very gracious with your time, and we've been on this stream for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, you've been absolutely crushing it hosting this, Seth. I don't know how anyone else could have done this. I mean, ignoring the fact that Bradley did it last night. So, but
not trying to shit on Bradley here, but I don't. Anyway.
No, but honestly, a very remarkable job. I mean, you didn't even take a sip of water between the ending of the 4-hour broadcast and then had to start the 2-hour post show. So
yeah,
appreciate you having me on. We are fighting through the night, like you said, and just a thrill to be a dynasty manager. Right now.
Hell yeah! And so before we go, do you have like a bold prediction to end the show with? I'm terrible. I don't. If anybody knows me from the Dynasty Roundtable, you'll know that I'm terrible at ending shows. I can't do it. It's almost like I don't want it to end. Either I end it too abruptly, or I just go on forever and ever and ever. So do you have like a bold prediction based on the projections that you could? I'm putting Dario on the spot here. So it's not fair of me to ask of him, but I'm doing it anyway.
I'm going to close it out by saying that we're going to have one of the weakest running back classes in terms of fantasy production that we have seen in years, and only one rookie running back finishes in the top 24. It could be Trey Benson, it could be Jonathan Brooks, but I think we're only getting one of those. And I know that right now, technically, I'm projecting for 0 of those, right? Because we talk about median outcomes, assume most people stay healthy, but consistently, you see several rookie running backs make an impact. I think this year we're going to see this class absolutely faceplant.
That's not a fun way to end the show. I'm gonna. All right,
that's the hot take. We're ending the show.
These running backs suck, everyone. No. Anyway, thank you.
Sell.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for all the fantastic guests we've had on tonight. Like this draft house, this draft experience, phenomenal. Dario, thank you so much. And Jason's over there. John Adams is making popcorn over there. He's been a big part of this, updating the players as they come through.
He's been crushing it.
I want to. Is there anybody? Josh Larky. We're watching the basketball game in the background.
Shout out to Frank.
Anyway,
Frank Lakatos, the OG.
Frank has been watching the Mets. I don't know how the Mets fared tonight, but I'm sure he knows. Anyway, I'm doing what I always do, and I said I wouldn't do, is I end the show very clunky. So nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers. Wiseman for Heisman. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great evening. We'll see you on day 3 tomorrow.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.